South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol met with Irish leader Leo Varadkar today at his office for talks on trade and other areas for cooperation, marking 40 years of Korea-Ireland ties. Israel closed in on Gaza City and its forces are now engaged in urban warfare targeting Hamas. Despite a weak connection in Gaza, we took a chance to talk to one of the 8 workers in the enclave about the grim situation there. South Korea expresses deep regret over Russia revoking its ratification of the global treaty banning nuclear weapons tests, a response similar to that of the U.S. It's November 3rd, 2023. This is News Center.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. President Yoon Suk-yeol today held a bilateral summit with Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar, who is currently in Seoul heading an economic delegation. According to officials, the president and the Irish Taoiseach met at the Yongsan presidential office and discussed trade relations and bilateral cooperation in various fields upon the 40th anniversary of South Korea-Ireland ties. Earlier, Varadkar told Irish media he will discuss ways to strengthen partnerships in areas such as climate change, global insecurity, threats to democracy, and the rule of law. Ireland is also looking to deepen its engagement with the Asia-Pacific region and sees Seoul as a crucial gateway to the region. Before his summit with President Yoon, Irish leader Leo Varadkar spoke to our presidential correspondent Oh Soo-young on how the 40-year relations between the two countries can further flourish based on their common values. Here's our exclusive interview with the Irish Prime Minister.
Ireland is keenly seeking a greater partnership with South Korea based on their values of freedom and innovation amid complex global challenges. That's according to Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar in an interview with Arirang News on Friday. Varadkar's working visit to Seoul marks the first trip by an Irish head of state in the history of their bilateral relations, which stretch back 40 years. The Irish PM highlighted the two republics' shared values, particularly under the Yoon administration, as they collaborate closely in tackling climate change, global insecurity, and threats to democracy.
Given the rapidly changing geopolitical dynamics that we're seeing, including the European Union's sort of change of approach to the Indo-Pacific, you've actually updated your Asia-Pacific strategy. So in what ways do you see opportunities and also challenges for both Ireland and South Korea?
Well, I think fundamentally the world is changing. The economic and political power is less concentrated in Europe and America and is now more multipolar. Asia being hugely significant politically and economically, much more so than would have been decades ago, but also a more dangerous world. You know, we see what's happening, for example, in the Middle East at the moment, the conflict in Ukraine, other parts of the world where there are potential flashpoints. And that's why I think countries that do very similar values need to work together, and the European Union and Korea have very similar values around free enterprise, around free trade, around democracy and human rights, and we really need to strengthen that relationship, and we're very keen as Ireland to be part of that.
Well, you actually visited the demilitarized zone yesterday, which is the border area between South and North Korea. So I'm wondering what was running through your mind at that moment, and also how you're planning to collaborate with South Korea for regional security, especially when it comes to peace on the Korean Peninsula.
Well, it was fascinating to visit. In many ways, it's a misnomer, demilitarized zone, because it is, of course, heavily militarized and heavily fortified. And I think one of the best ways that we can work together, Ireland and Korea, is through the United Nations in particular. And even as we speak, Irish and Korean troops are serving together in South Lebanon, which is a very dangerous place at the moment, but have been there helping to keep the peace there.
Particularly as President Yoon Suk-yeol pushes for global solidarity for peace, development and climate action. Varadkar said he hopes the two republics can also work together to increase multilateral cooperation and institutions as middle power countries.
We're relatively small countries, albeit with big economies and a lot of trading influence. And for countries like ours, we'll do best in a world that is rules-based, that has institutions that function, that it's not just the really big countries that make all the decisions or those countries with massive military economic power.
The Irish leader further highlighted new emerging industries, including renewable energy and digital technologies, as key areas of win-win partnership between the two leading IT nations.
I think one is certainly energy, and Korea is at the forefront in terms of making that green transition towards renewable energy and battery storage. Some investments by Korean companies happening in Ireland. We have very ambitious plans to increase the amount of renewable energy we produce, and nearly half of all cars now being sold in Ireland are either electric cars or hybrids, and Hyundai and Kai are among the main companies selling cars into Ireland. So I think
Noting that he loved Korean dramas and films like Squid Game, Varadkar noted that the two countries will increase people-to-people exchanges for more collaborations in culture and innovation.
Korean culture really has grown, I think, around the world, and Ireland wouldn't have been very exposed to it maybe 20 years ago, but now people really are. So it's great to see the country spreading its wings in the way it has.
Right, thank you very much for your time, Dr. Varadkar.
Thank you.
Turning to the war in the Middle East, Israel says its forces have surrounded the Gaza Strip's biggest city, but mounting civilian losses have led to calls for action to minimize civilian death. Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
Gaza City has reportedly been surrounded by Israeli forces, and as the conflict continues, countries are pressing to minimize civilian losses. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a statement that they are advancing at the height of the battle and have made impressive successes. Thousands of strikes in the Gaza Strip since the Hamas attacks on October 7th have led to the deaths of over 9,000 Palestinians. According to officials in the besieged enclave, the strikes in the biggest refugee camp in Jabalia on Thursday have resulted in 195 killed and 120 missing. With the mounting death toll, there are calls to protect civilian lives. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken departed for Israel for the second time in a month to meet with Netanyahu.
We will be talking about concrete steps that can and should be taken to minimize harm to men, women, and children in Gaza. And this is something that the United States is committed to.
U.S. President Joe Biden also called for a pause in fighting during a campaign speech in Minneapolis. Chile's president met with Biden to say that Israel is violating international law, and the United Arab Emirates said that it was working relentlessly to reach a full humanitarian ceasefire. Meanwhile, on Wednesday and Thursday, non-hostages living in the Gaza Strip with foreign nationalities or dual citizenship began to cross the Rafah crossing into Egypt. There were 15 nationalities on the list of people approved to leave, and among the 344 who crossed the border on Thursday was a family of 5 South Korean nationals. Officials expect some 7,000 more foreign passport holders to leave Gaza over the coming weeks. A Japanese aircraft departed from Tel Aviv for Tokyo on Thursday, bringing 15 South Koreans and 1 foreign national family member, following the offering of 20 seats last month. With this, there are 420 South Korean citizens remaining in Israel. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
As Israeli ground operation and airstrikes intensify, the situation in Gaza is getting worse by the day. Multiple international humanitarian organizations are making efforts to assist the people inside Gaza, but it's not enough. Our Choi Soo-hyung heard the voices from inside.
No more food or water. The current situation inside the Gaza Strip is getting worse, devolving into total chaos. Arirang News tried to contact a field manager for the international private humanitarian organization Oxfam operating in Gaza, but it was challenging due to frequent power outage there.
There has been no positive change at all. Day after day, the situation is getting worse and worse. We were unable to access drinking water. We were forced to go out after dark to fill water jerrycans for children, managing to collect only 40 liters for over 100 people.
Another humanitarian agency, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, said that nowhere is safe across the Gaza Strip. Even their shelters are not shelters anymore.
We got the terrible news that 4 of our schools that are used as shelters were damaged in the war. And there's at least 20,000 people who have been sheltering in those 4 schools. We have dozens of people killed and injured.
Along with thousands of innocent civilians, she has lost 72 colleagues who have been killed since the war began in Gaza.
Everywhere there is people who continue to be killed, including our own staff. For example, last night we lost one of our colleagues. Her name was Mai. She's a young girl in her 20s, a software developer who I actually know personally.
She says serious hygiene problems are threatening the Palestinian refugees, causing a public health disaster. As the agency's schools and camps are also overcrowded, children at risk of life-threatening health issues are rapidly increasing.
It's a very grim situation, and with that comes obviously risks due to lack of hygiene. We have reports that 400 people are sharing one toilet, as one example. We know that among children there's diarrhea, there's scabies, and that should not be surprising to anyone because of the living condition, how much it's overcrowded, and the lack of sanitary.
Currently, UNRWA is supplying flour for free to 70 bakeries in the Gaza Strip to enable people to have bread, but it covers only 3% of the total demand in Gaza, and even that is expected to run out within 5 to 6 days. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Following Russia's decision to revoke its ratification of a global treaty that bans all kinds of nuclear tests, South Korea and the U.S. expressed concerns. Seoul has urged Moscow to reconsider, while Washington has called it an irresponsibility. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji has more.
South Korea has expressed deep regret and disappointment over Russia's withdrawal of its ratification of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. In a statement on Friday, the Foreign Ministry spokesperson urged Russia to reconsider. This comes after Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday local time signed a law withdrawing the country's ratification of the Global Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. The legislation, which was passed unanimously in both the upper and lower houses of Russian parliament, revokes Moscow's ratification of the 1996 treaty that bans all nuclear explosions, including live tests of nuclear weapons, whether for peaceful or military purposes. The country has been arguing that the treaty was never effective because some key countries did not ratify it. Then, on October 6th, it announced its intention to withdraw from the treaty to mirror the position of the U.S., which has signed but not ratified the treaty.
A long time ago, we signed and ratified, but the Americans did not ratify. To bring the situation to a common denominator, the President allowed for the possibility of revoking this ratification.
Adopted by the United Nations in 1996, the CTBT has served as a key tool to prevent nuclear proliferation. But it hasn't been put into force as it still needs ratification from 8 specific countries. In addition to the US, China, Egypt, Iran, and Israel have signed the treaty but have not ratified it, and North Korea, India, and Pakistan have not yet signed it. In response to Russia's latest move, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also expressed concerns, calling it an irresponsibility that represents Moscow's misguided efforts to heighten nuclear risks and raise tensions as it pursues its war against Ukraine. He also warned that Russia's actions will only serve to set back confidence in international arms control. Bae Eun-ji, Arirang News.
Lights have been observed during the night at a North Korean space vehicle launching facility, suggesting that the regime could be preparing for what will be its 3rd attempt to launch a military reconnaissance satellite. Satellite images taken during the night released by NASA on Friday showed lights on the 19th, 21st, and 26th of last month in parts of the Seohae satellite launching station. Van Diepen, a former U.S. government weapons expert, said it was impossible to be certain that the North is about to launch a satellite just by observing the lights, but what is clear is that the regime is preparing for a launch from the site. The United States and China will hold climate talks in California this weekend to seek progress ahead of the COP28 climate summit in Dubai. The U.S. State Department announced on Thursday that the climate envoy John Kerry will meet with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping from Saturday through Tuesday. The talks will be held at the Sunnylands Desert Resort on the eve of an expected U.S. visit by Chinese leader Xi Jinping. The State Department said the two sides will discuss enhanced implementation and ambition and efforts to promote a successful COP28. World leaders and climate negotiators will gather in Dubai from November 30th for the latest UN-led summit. South Korea's Presidential Committee of National Cohesion launched a special subcommittee on Friday to encourage immigrants' active participation in society. The subcommittee, headed by Professor Lee Woo-young of Seoul National University Law School, will work on establishing new immigrant policies by looking into other countries' cases. It will also push for measures to prevent discrimination against immigrants. According to the National Cohesion Committee, the number of foreign residents in South Korea is around 2.18 million. The number is expected to exceed 5% of the total population next year. It is Friday, and we are back with our weekly arts and culture segment. We have our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin in the studio. Happy Friday, Yoo-jin.
Happy Friday, Jungmin.
What do you have for us today?
Well, Jungmin, it's been quite a while since we talked about K-pop in arts and culture, and a few days ago, I read a research paper about a new trend in the genre. So, as we know, the K in K-pop obviously stands for Korean, but we're seeing more English lyrics in K-pop songs. And in fact, with some K-pop artists releasing songs that are entirely in English, this kind of made me wonder whether the K in K-pop is gradually losing its meaning. So for this week, I took a look into this trend and listened to what fans had to say about it.
I'm super shy, but wait a minute while I make you mine, make you mine. A sidestep while I left to my beat. I like the more rock with me, baby.
These songs show a growing trend within the K-pop industry, more English lyrics. A recent study found that K-pop songs that charted in the top 400 of Circle Chart, a Korean album sales tracker, in the first half of this year had more English lyrics than 5 years ago. This is mainly because more people around the world are listening to K-pop. In the past, the genre was mostly for listeners at home. But with the global success of artists like Psy, BTS, and Blackpink, K-pop now has a global fan base.
The key to popular music lies in connecting with the audience. Incorporating English lyrics can help establish that connection in America and Europe. This way, K-pop can have a broader international appeal.
This is also the reason why girl groups incorporate more English lyrics. Female K-pop stars tend to hold a more diverse global fan base than their male counterparts.
They're using English more to reach a wider audience. The share of English lyrics in girl groups like Blackpink or New Jeans, who are targeting international markets, is higher than that of IVE, focusing on the local audience.
What do fans think about this? Some welcome this change, while others raise questions about its necessity.
I think it makes it more marketable to the English speakers internationally. So it makes K-pop more known to the other countries besides Korea.
And I think most people listen to K-pop so that they can engage with Korean culture. So I think it would be nice to keep the two separate.
I don't need to always know what every word means, because I think the difference between solely Western music versus K-pop music is that you feel you get the sense, the tone, the feeling that they're trying to evoke in the song without even having to know what the meaning of the word is.
And so, with K-pop going global, the role of English lyrics is a subject of both celebration and debate among fans.
You know, I've noticed that it's not just about more English lyrics, but the quality of English lyrics seems to be improving.
You're definitely right, Tomi. So when I spoke to international K-pop fans, they mentioned that in the past, K-pop, the English lyrics of K-pop songs were more decorative than meaningful. And also, Dr. Chen mentioned in my report, pointed out that this change is partly down to K-pop producers. So in the earlier days, when K-pop was less global, most of the songwriters and lyricists were Korean. But now, if you just take a look at the credits for K-pop songs, you'll find many non-Korean names too. So this is another reason behind the improvement in the quality of English lyrics as well.
That's interesting. And I also recall that many non-Korean K-pop fans used to learn Korean by listening to K-pop songs. So do more English lyrics mean this trend is fading?
Well, it's not that the passion for learning Korean has faded, it's just that there are now more diverse cultural content beyond K-pop where non-Koreans can really pick up the language. So, for example, there are a lot of Korean movies, dramas, TV shows that are readily accessible thanks to the emergence of streaming service platforms. So we can just say that the opportunities and the methods to learn Korean has expanded.
All right. Thank you, Jin, for the great report.
Thank you.
This weekend is forecast to be mostly rainy and breezy. Clouds will increase overnight as the rain system will be moving into the nation. With the rain, readings will get cooler this weekend. Morning temperatures will stay at 14 degrees Celsius, while highs will be jumping to 22 degrees Celsius. As showers will spread nationwide on Sunday, temperatures will be dropping to 18 degrees in Seoul. As for the amount of rainfall, Jeju Island will see the most with up to 50 millimeters in the forecast. 강원도, 경상도 provinces will see 5 to 40. Parts of 경기도, 충청도, and 전라도 provinces can expect about 5 to 20 millimeters. In the meantime, strong winds may blow from time to time along with the rain. In fact, for parts of the East Coast, a strong wind alert is currently in place. This can be conducive to creating high waves, so please stay away from the shorelines. Tomorrow, Seoul and Daegu will be starting off at 14 degrees Celsius. Daily highs in Seoul will get up to 22 degrees, Gwangju 24, Daegu and Gyeongju will be reaching 20 degrees. After the rain, a surge of Arctic air will filter in, and by next Tuesday, morning temperatures will be close to those of early winter. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is News Center for tonight. Thanks for watching. A panel session coming up.